How many of you remember the cartoon The Jetsons? The Jetsons was the first cartoon I know of to combine the future concepts for what life would be like 100 years from now with the average family. I mean, they had video conferencing, they had automated transportation, they had house cleaning robots. It's amazing. I mean, they had it all. Well, we're not quite there, but we're gaining on some of those ideas because while we know that art imitates life, life often imitates art eventually. My name is Dr. Kurt Barnhart, and I'm a professor with Kansas State University's Aerospace and Technology campus, and I'm here today to talk about the amazing technological revolution that's now emerging in an industry that affects nearly all of us at one point or another, air transportation. My topic today is really intended for the general public, not necessarily those in our industry, because most of those already know what I'm about to tell you. I've spent my entire career, almost 40 years now, in the field of civil aviation, from being a pilot, an aircraft maintenance technician, a researcher, and an academic, and I'm here to speak to you today because I'm more excited today about the future of the air transportation industry than I've ever been. While negative headlines can often co-opt our attention, if you haven't been paying close attention, I'm here to report that we're now crossing a threshold of a technological revolution that is truly extraordinary. This revolution is enabled by advancements across many industry sectors. Aerospace is a highly visible industry, but as an industry, it emerges from a fusion of myriad supporting technologies that are rapidly advancing independently, but collectively, they're driving this change in the industry that I'm most passionate about. Speaking broadly, I'm talking about advancements in materials, propulsion, digital capabilities, machine learning, and automation of all kinds. Advancements are not just limited to technology, however. I'm also excited about the advancements in the regulatory perspective. It shows our ability to think very creatively about how we're going to use our national airspace system and encourage innovation. In case you haven't noticed, very revolutionary technology is on the verge of entering the aviation market, and in some cases it already has. Over the next few years, these aircraft will be more and more prevalent, and these vehicles will allow us to transport people more efficiently, more safely, and more sustainably than ever before. Most of these vehicles will present with many of the following characteristics. Number one, they'll be capable of carrying passengers in both vertical and horizontal flight at speeds greater than that of a traditional helicopter. They're going to look very differently. They're also going to be powered by alternate forms of energy. Current solutions focus heavily on electric power, but in the future, we'll likely see other power sources, including nuclear, hydrogen, and others not yet known. They're going to be capable of both human, but ultimately autonomous and intelligent flight. So are you skeptical about autonomous flight in aviation? Well, don't be, because we have a rigorous certification process in aviation that most industries do not have, and this technology will only be permitted to carry passengers when the safety has been demonstrated beyond any reasonable doubt. Safety will increase, not decrease. Even now, an increasing number of smaller aircraft have a button that in any phase of flight, a passenger can press that button and it will perform an auto landing at any point throughout that flight. Farther into the future, we're going to be looking at aircraft that have self-healing structures, aircraft that can diagnose mechanical trouble and in some cases fix themselves, at least temporarily. Aircraft that have adaptive flight controls, which is technology that will automatically configure the aircraft for optimum flyaway potential from any trouble while the situation is diagnosed and remedied. We'll be seeing aircraft that have no onboard operator. When you consider the current workforce shortage in aviation, this becomes viable, if not a necessity at some point. Please know, however, that these advancements will only occur in an air traffic system that is much more advanced than what we have now. Recently, I was wondering about the public opinion and the public acceptance of flying in an automated aircraft, so I undertook an informal online survey and asked respondents to indicate their likelihood of ever flying in a fully automated aircraft. And the results were interesting. 70 respondents. So here's the question. I quote, "The question relates to traveling by air at some time in the future as a paying passenger traveling on a federally approved and certified mode of publicly accessible air transportation. How likely are you to travel on board an aircraft that is fully automated from the time you board the aircraft to the time you exit the aircraft?" And the results are fairly interesting. They were actually weighted more towards the older population. There were 30% that said, no way, never, but 70% agreed at some point, at some level, that they would actually do that. Some people said, I want somebody at least on the aircraft who's capable of intervening. Others said, as long as there's somebody who can intervene from the ground, that's fine. And then others said, as long as it's federally certified, I'm fine. And remember, these are biased towards the older segment, so that data is going to change. I think it's promising. It will only improve over time, regardless of where you fall with respect to new technologies and many of the hot-button issues surrounding that today. Most all of us can agree that, all else being equal, more efficient is better, safer is better, as is more personalized transportation service closer to your origins and destinations. The advancements we're talking about potentially bring all of that and more, and I'm not even mentioning what's going on outside of our atmosphere, which is even more exciting. Now, to be candid, the pushback I often hear when I talk about what's going on in this industry with those who are not involved with these changes, more often than not, has a base of fear and general skepticism, if not outright anger. And some of that's understandable and frankly expected. With this, we're challenging current norms, and that can be painful at times because it involves change. And change can involve loss. Often, some of these technologies get caught in the political crossfire, but my plea is that the hearer considers the potential of these new technologies on their own without reacting to a larger narrative. Give it time. What is destined to succeed will succeed. Here's a few questions to think about as you ponder what I'm talking about. Are there significant challenges on this journey, and will there be in the future? Yes, absolutely. Will there be setbacks and losses, accidents and fatalities on this journey? Yes, but few, and they will gradually lessen over time. Can alternate sources of energy deliver performance equal to fossil fuels right now? No, they can't. Does alternate energy in its current form have sustainability problems of its own? Yes, it does. In 1900, could the automobile provide the same service as a horse could? No. Were there those in the early 1900s that thought the automobile was a passing fad? Yes, there were. Could the microprocessor do in the early 1960s what the slide rule could? So what was the driving force behind why all these technologies are everywhere today? And that's innovation. Can we build enough batteries to power the transition with current technology? Not likely. Will all of these innovations and advancements we're talking about here succeed? No, they won't. When you form your opinion about the future of any technology, it's important to refrain from only considering the current form. Advancements in science and technology are happening even now and will continue that will make many of these objections obsolete. We innovate. It's in our blood. So in closing, let's let the technology prove or disprove itself. Some will, some won't. Well, we're not yet in 2062 when the Jetsons were set. We're getting there, and it's exciting. And I want to thank you for spending these few minutes with me. And I want to say that if you're not excited about what I'm talking about, my hope is that you soon will be. Thank you.